My anxiety is really getting on top of me right now. What would you say as a manager if one of your employees told you that? With 1 in 4 people now experiencing anxiety or depression, anxiety is definitely something you will come across as a manager. And this is why it's important that you know what to do, what to say, and how to support that employee as best as you can. That's exactly what we're going to cover in this episode as we show you all the steps to support somebody with anxiety. So anxiety is more than just worrying, because we all worry from time to time. It could be starting a new job, could be meeting new people, a work deadline, could be up a high height for whatever reason, or just anything else. And with that feeling, we might get hot and sweaty, we could get fast heartbeat thinking about it or doing it, we could start to overthink things, procrastinate, and engage in a lot of behaviours because of that worry. Now, everybody gets this time to time. With anxiety is when that worrying feeling becomes chronic and starts to affect everyday life. So for that person, it can literally feel like they're living on the edge, unable to relax, very tense all the time, maybe they're second guessing every decision that they're making, they're worrying about things both big and small, and worrying about things that may not make sense to you or me, but for them it's very, very real. They can feel like they're literally having no energy. They could experience panic attacks. They could start to self-medicate, isolate themselves, and engage in a lot of self-sabotaging behaviours. So anxiety is more than just worrying. Here are my 8 steps to have a supportive conversation around anxiety. Find a safe place to talk where the individual is going to feel comfortable. This could be a private room or even going a walk. It could be done as soon as they tell you that they're anxious, or you could agree a time that you're both available. It's important to reassure the individual, because somebody with anxiety will have racing thoughts about this type of conversation. They might think about, will they lose a job because of this conversation? Will you actually care and want to actually support them? Will you tell others? So it's important to reassure them that they've done the right thing by coming to you, reassure them that you're going to support them as best as you can, and the workplace is going to support them as best as they can, and also reassure them that what they say is going to be kept confidential unless it puts them at serious risk or someone else at serious risk. So always make sure to reassure. In the conversation, it's important to ask lots of relevant questions, especially open ones, as these will help to provide the best information and also help to guide the conversation. So you can ask questions such as, can you tell me a bit more about these thoughts and feelings that you've been having and what you think might have caused all of this? And they can tell you if what's triggering their anxiety, when it all started, and lots of other information around that. You can ask, have you experienced thoughts and feelings like this before? And if they tell you that they have, then you can ask, well, what helped them in the past? You can ask, is there anything at work that's triggering your anxiety or making you feel worse in any way? And you can look at if there's any work-related factors that you could maybe support them through reasonable adjustments. You can ask, how are you looking after yourself right now? Checking if they've got basic necessities. Are they sleeping? Are they exercising? Are they eating well? Are they connecting with others? And lots of other things. Now there's lots and lots of open-ended questions that you can ask. Here are my favourite 8 here that should appear on the screen. And the ones you ask will be dependent on the conversation. You can ask closed questions as well, and it's important to note with anxiety that you keep your questions clear, simple, and to the point. So always ask relevant questions. In the conversation, it's important to check for risk, and that's checking the risk of suicide and self-harm. Because somebody with anxiety, they're going to get a lot of overwhelming thoughts, racing thoughts that they can't control, and thoughts that they might have not had before. And it can make them feel powerless, have a lack of control, and it can really affect their life in so many ways. So it's important that we check for phrases such as that they feel hopeless, that they feel like a burden, that they feel powerless, they're not sure what to do with themselves, or anything that indicates that they are at a very, very low point. And they might even just say that they had these thoughts. So it's always important to ask the question. And when you ask this question, you ask it calm and relaxed. And with these thoughts and feelings that you've been having, have you had any thoughts of self-harm or ending your own life? And if you ask it calmly, they'll answer in one of 3 ways. So the first one, nah, nothing like that. Second one could be a pause no. So they might say no, might look away, might show something in their body. which may indicate that they have been having this but may not want to tell you. So you can have a second prompt asking it in a different way. So no dark thoughts, anything like that, or something similar. And then the third way, they might just say, yes, I have had thoughts of self-harm and suicide. And then that changes the conversation completely. And we'll cover that in a different video of how to handle a crisis conversation around suicide. So always check for risk in the conversation. Identify what's making their anxiety worse. Is it work-related, is it personal, or is it both? If it's work-related, you may be in a position to support them. And this support would come from reasonable adjustments. So reasonable adjustments have to work for the individual, the workplace, and the rest of the team. And what works for one person in their role may not work for another, and vice versa. And with the reasonable adjustments, we're aiming to keep them in the work for as long as we can, supporting them as best as we can, and it may seem at first that there's a cost involved to some of these, but it's more cost effective than having them signed off. So let me give you a few examples. So let's say they've got social anxiety and they're now struggling in a social setting, struggling with meetings, the office environment, and everything else socially related. One example could be allowing flexible working, allowing them to work from home, and this could be on set days, or it could be on a permanent basis for a few months. So working from home is definitely an option. It could be, let's say their home life has changed and they now have personal circumstances which change how much time they have, the responsibilities, and having a sense of overwhelm. It could be looking after sick family members. It could be maybe they're single parent now looking after the kids, or anything like that. So a changing in their working hours. Other ones, maybe their team members are triggering them. And this could be from some sort of bullying and the treatment involved, or it could just be the fact that they just don't gel, and that happens. So changing who they're working with can certainly help. Could look at the workload, changing the roles and responsibilities. Maybe they don't feel adequate in their job anymore, so training could certainly be helpful. And there's lots of other reasonable adjustments that you can make, and the ones that you do make will be dependent on the conversation. So what they're saying, what they need, what's reasonable, and what they're prepared to do. So discuss it in the conversation and see what reasonable adjustments can be made. Encourage self-help in the conversation. Before providing any advice, always ask for the permission. So you could say something like, with these thoughts and feelings that you've been having, there are a few self-help options that we could look at. Is that something you're prepared to do? And if they say yes, we can look at what's going to be realistic and achievable for them. And we can work out what's realistic and achievable by listening to what they've been saying, what they need, and what they're prepared to do. So for example, if they said they've been eating crap for months, suddenly telling them to eat chicken, rice, and veg, prep absolutely everything in their life, isn't going to be realistic. Instead, we could say, could you drink a glass of water? Or could you eat a piece of fruit? Having a simple win that can stack and build the momentum. Or if they haven't exercised in months and they haven't even left the house apart from work, you could say, could you go at your front door to get some fresh air? Or could you walk down to the end of the street, take a 15-minute walk perhaps with themselves or others? And then again, another quick, easy win. And if they haven't socialized at all, we could say, could you text a friend or family member? Another quick, easy win to build that momentum and encourage other healthy activities. So the self-help that you do encourage, we want to get those basics, encourage them to connect, sleep, exercise, eat well, and invest in their self-care as best as they can, and looking at what they're prepared to do for themselves. So encourage self-help. Encourage professional support in the conversation. So as always ask for permission. So we can say something like, there are a lot of professional options that we could look at if that's something you're prepared to do. And if they say yes, we can provide recommendations based on what they've said to us and what they need. So if it's debt related, we could look at step change. If it's information they need, it could be mind. If they need somebody to talk to, it could be Breathing Space or Samaritans. Could look at Anxiety UK, or anything else that's relevant to the conversation. Now, when we're providing this information, we want to not just tell them to go Google it, we want to give them the name, the number, the website, and all the other contact details, as this will help them to easily access it. So in the conversation, always encourage professional help. At the end of the conversation, ask if you can check in with them. And this can be checking in with them via text, call, email, or another meeting, depending on what they agree to. And by even just the question of asking this will show that you care as a manager, and it will show that you want to support them as best as you can. So always ask to check in. So those are my 8 steps to have a supportive conversation around anxiety. I do hope it's been useful. If it has, please like, comment, and share, as it's going to help more managers to know what to do and say. And if you're looking for any mental health training, whether it's mental health first aid, a tailored workshop, or a presentation, then please get in contact with me at matt@claritywalk.co.uk or visit our website www.claritywalk.co.uk/training. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you.